I would see people where they finally were dealing with something and then they weren't actually avoiding it anymore. And they were saying, okay, what do I got to be with here? What is that thing I've been afraid to find out, afraid to, feel, and now I can finally feel it. And when they do, they get on the other side of it. And when you get on the other side of it, new things start to open up. And when you look back at those moments in your life, you will see how perfectly planned each of those things were, even the hard things, especially the hard things. You will see that those things had to happen in the way that they happened. Okay, look at a situation in your life where there's a challenging circumstance, and it's like, what is this trying to teach me right now? What is the message that this situation is showing me? And how is it growing me? So what is it showing me and how is it growing me? Who am I becoming in this process? Because anytime you set a goal or you have something you want to achieve, it's not about the goal. It's not about the thing. It's who you become in the process. And this is where your character gets revealed. This is where your integrity gets revealed. This is where accountability gets revealed. And these are core pillars of the warrior energy. And in our group, we have been steeping in the warrior energy. And when you create a pristine environment where integrity, accountability, transparency, vulnerability are at the top, then anything that isn't congruent with that is going to show up. Anything that can't live there anymore is become really apparent because you're not blind to it anymore. You're actually taking self-accountability. You're actually looking at your life and saying, how can I improve here? What do I need to see here? What is this really about for me? What do I need to be with? And this can be scary because that thing that you've been avoiding for so long really has gotten built up to be such a big thing that when you actually finally look at it, you actually finally address it, you finally get that health diagnosis or finally look at the bank account or finally deal with that conversation you have to deal with, you will realize that the big boogeyman you thought was in the closet was really just like a little gerbil with a shadow. And when you face it, you realize that wasn't so bad. I mean, how many times you had the experience where maybe you were tentative about having a conversation and making that phone call, and you finally do, and you get off the phone and realize, man, that wasn't that big of a deal, and I feel so much better that I've actually addressed this energy in my life. And what comes of that, and then the things that open up. So, classically, they say whatever resists persists. So whatever you suppress, whatever you put down, whatever you're not allowing yourself to be with is just going to keep amplifying until something in your life is going to show up, say, you have to deal with this now. And this is classic, my healing practice for many years. I would see people where they finally were dealing with something and then they weren't actually avoiding it anymore. And they were saying, okay, what do I got to be with here? What is that thing I've been afraid to find out, afraid to, feel, and now I can finally feel it. And when they do, they get on the other side of it. And when you get on the other side of it, new things start to open up. And when you look back at those moments in your life, you will see how perfectly planned each of those things were, even the hard things, especially the hard things. You will see that those things had to happen in the way that they happened. And unfortunately, you won't necessarily get that clarity until later when you look back, and you will see that everything that happened that led up to those circumstances, that led up to those situations, had to happen exactly in the way that they did. And it was almost like the most perfectly crafted novel you've ever read. And anytime you've achieved anything great in your life, anytime you've ever walked through the fire and gotten to the other side, how you got there is very different most of the time, if not 100% of the time, different than how you thought it was going to be. And that's just fact. So look at anything in your life, look at anything you have in your life, and see all the things that had to happen, exactly how and when they happen for that thing to manifest in your life. And at the time, some of those things may seem like so bad, so detrimental, like the worst thing that ever happened. And I'm not saying bad things don't happen and challenging situations that happen, but it's who you become as a result of those challenging situations, of those hard things. You're either going to be burnt by the fire, or you're going to be made by the fire. And we as men access the warrior energy in its fullness. You welcome that challenge. You welcome that adversity. You welcome those trials, the tribulations, being forged in the fire to become the man that you know you need to become. It is only in my greatest challenges I can sit here and tell you that those things made me who I am. Nothing in life comes easy. Nothing in life is handed to you. You must face the challenges head on. And the more I've avoided those challenges, the more I avoided those hard conversations, the more I didn't deal with things when I needed to deal with them, the harder they became to deal with later, the more expensive they became to deal with later, and the more energy they took to deal with later.